Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. In just a moment, I'm going to walk my happy butt over to the futon to check out the Shudder original, Frewaka. Frewaka comes to us all the way from Ireland, and to the best of my knowledge, I think this is the first movie that's ever been presented entirely in the Irish native language. Now, I could be wrong, but I do believe this is the first one. Okay, so this film is directed by Aislinn Clark, and it tells the story of a woman who is a hospice care nurse, and she's been given the job to go take care of a woman in the countryside of Ireland. While she's there, strange things of the culty variety start to happen around her, and so she starts to think that maybe this woman is not necessarily suffering from dementia. Maybe something else is happening at this house. This movie looks like it's going to be an absolute creep fest. I love a good folk horror, and it looks like this one is definitely going to itch that or scratch that itch. So you know what? It's enough of me sitting here yammering on. My good old faithful movie companion Haku is patiently waiting for me over at the futon. So it's enough of me sitting here yammering on. It's time for me to get over to the futon and check out Frewaka. Just getting done watching Frewaka, and guys, I enjoyed this movie. I thought this was a pretty creepy little slow burn. So let's get this started, shall we? Now, normally I do negatives, positives, but this time I'm going to do negatives, mixed, and positives. So let's get this started, shall we, with the one negative I have, and that is the runtime of this movie. This movie clocks in about an hour and 45 minutes, somewhere in that ballpark, and to be perfectly honest, I feel like this movie could have been tightened up just a little bit. There was definitely some moments where I felt like shots lingered or things just kind of dragged on a little too long, and I understand in order to build tension and all, you do need those slower, quiet moments to really drive home the dread and all, but some of those dread-filled moments do feel like they go on a little too long, and it could have been tightened up just a little bit. Now, with this being a streaming movie, I like to call it the cell phone test. Now, am I reaching for my cell phone often with this movie? No, not much, but I did find myself picking it up every so often and checking messages and all. And I guess the problem with that is that this is a subtitled film, and so every time I felt the need to check a message or whatever on my phone, I had to take the movie back a little bit because I missed something. I would pick it up, look at the old social medias, and then go, oh crap, this isn't in English, and then I'd have to take it back a little bit. So yeah, I do feel like the film got a little draggy. Now, moving into the mix, I did say that this film was a slow burn, and I don't necessarily feel like it meets the standards of what most people consider a slow burn to be, which is a lot of build-up, not a lot of action, and boom, everything happening crazy at the end. Now, while this does seem to follow that same formula, in order to build a lot of dread in this movie, there are a lot of really cool moments of scares, there are dream sequences that our characters have, and there's a lot of other imagery and all that really help you kind of build the tension and fear and dread as the movie progresses. So it might take a little while getting to getting where they're going, but there's a lot of fun stuff that happens on the way to get there. Something else, this movie does lean very heavily into Irish folklore. Now, you don't have to be an expert on Irish folklore to understand everything that's going on in this movie, but I do think it helps to get a little bit deeper meaning. Now, I am a fan of culty and folk horror type movies, and so there was some things that I did recognize and all that I've seen in other films, and I do know just a little bit about Irish folklore and all. So there was some things that I was able to pick up on that gave this film a little bit more deeper meaning. Now, remind you, this is a mix. This does not ruin the film. You do not have to be an expert. It just helps kind of drive home the message and what this film is trying to send message-wise. Now, the movie doesn't quite wrap everything up in a good, perfect little bow for you either. This film does end on a little bit of an ambiguous way that allows you, the viewer, to kind of piece things together to let you kind of figure out exactly what you think has happened at the end of this. And I do think that understanding the folklore will help a little bit more with trying to piece things together at the end of this. Also, there is a lot of religious Catholic imagery in this film. A lot of Catholic imagery, let me put it that way. And I am unfortunately not very versed in Catholicism either, so there's probably some stuff that went over my head that probably could have given the film a little bit deeper meaning. So if you're somebody like myself that doesn't know a lot about these things, you might not necessarily get everything that you want out of this film, but believe me guys, it doesn't ruin the movie at all. This film is also subtitled, so as I did say, there were moments I had to take the film back a little bit so I could pick up on some things, because yes, I did pick up the evil old dreaded cell phone for every so often, and I missed a couple of things. So again, if you're somebody who does not like a subtitled film, maybe you're going to find a little difficulty in that, but again, I wish you would try to look through that, and I think you would really find something that you enjoy in this movie. Now, let's move into the positives. The first thing I want to talk about is the acting in this movie. Yet again, this is a foreign film. I did not understand the words, but I did get the emotional impact across, and I do like that. One of the main reasons I would prefer seeing a movie subtitled over dubbed is because I want to be able to get a good understanding of the actors, of their cadence, of their emotional oomph that they put behind their line delivery. And so it was really cool to be able to watch that in this film, and also just listen to the Irish language. It's not one that I'm very familiar with, so it's kind of interesting to get to hear it every so often. I did think that the cinematography in this film was really good. This movie does an excellent job of utilizing the cinematography to really drive home a lot of that dread and overwhelming fear that you get to build throughout this movie. Now, like I said, it does pretty well follow that slow burn formula. It does build to something, and believe me guys, when it gets there, it goes hard. And I don't mean that as in like something very violent and gory and all. It's just a lot of stuff happens at once, so be able to take it in a lot at that moment. All in all, guys, I think that this was a very well-crafted, well-made, slow-burn creep fest. This film has zero jump scares, which is always okay by me, but there was a lot of scenes of just overwhelming tension and dread, and that is something that I absolutely love in a good horror story. Now, like I said, not everything necessarily comes together in the end, because again, like I thought there was some things that I was missing because I didn't understand some of the imagery and all that was going on. But one thing that I did get a grasp on, and this is just my opinion of course, was generational trauma. It seemed like this movie was focused a lot also in what I would say the real world as mental illness and generational trauma, and how that can affect people throughout the different generations. Where does the trauma begin, and how does it progress through the generations? How does each one of these people deal with what's going to happen to them later on down the road? And the same could be said with mental illness in this film. There's also that same thing with generational mental illness going on in this movie. Now, while I have seen that a lot in horror movies lately, I haven't seen it very often presented in the Irish language, so that was pretty cool. But overall, guys, I thought that this was an extremely well-made, well-crafted creep fest, and if you are interested in learning a little bit more of Irish folklore and I guess Catholicism, then go ahead and check this movie out. It is currently on Shudder. It was a pretty decent watch, but be prepared for the subtitles and all. Alright guys, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna. Thanks for sticking around. A little tidbit of knowledge. Stick around because at about the mid-credit scene, you get a little something that makes things come together a little bit more. Alright guys, thanks again for checking me out. See you soon.